Okay, so real quick, I just want to talk about Chads versus pickup artists, because I get a lot of guys, especially a lot of guys lately, complaining that, hey, I can't get women, I'm not a Chad, you know, I'm not 6 feet tall, I'm not a male model, I don't have six-pack abs, I can't compete with these guys. And it's like, poor me, boo fucking who, right? Dudes, you guys got to stop playing the victim. And, you know, it really annoys me because there's a lot of these guys who are part of the LMS crowd, the looks, money, status crowd, right? Who do these who do these videos on YouTube where they're like, look, see, if you don't look like a Chad, if you don't have looks, money, status, these women won't want anything to do with you. You know, and as somebody who's been doing game my entire life, I will tell you it's just not true. Okay, it's just not true. And it saddens me because a lot of these guys who buy into that shit have never even bothered to try yet. They haven't even put themselves out there yet. Okay, a lot of these guys have never done a cold approach in their entire lives, but yet they're kind of like relieving themselves of that responsibility as a man by just going, see, it's all about looks, money, status, right? That's all women want. I can't win here anyway, so I'm not even going to try. Right? And the funny thing is about the LMS crowd is they always use like Tinder as an example. They'll always use like some online dating site to prove their theory, which is complete bullshit because, hey, if you're going to, you know, talk about looks, money, status, you know, and then just use like Tinder or Bumble or any online dating site to prove your theory, of course it's only going to be about looks, right? Of course, if you're online, all women care about is your looks, right? That's all she has to judge you on is your physical appearance when you're online on a dating site. This is why no self-respecting pickup coach out there will ever teach you to go online, would ever advise for you to go online. I mean, I don't do any online game at all, right? I mean, I do it from time to time as an experiment to prove that I could pick up girls way faster in real life, right? But it's not something that I would ever rely on. Working game online is 10 times worse than working game in a nightclub. The competition is so fierce online, it's insane. These girls don't even have to be that cute. They could be a 6 in looks, even a 5. They will get hundreds of messages from thirsty betas trying to hit them up, trying to get them out on dates with them. There's no competition, but yet here these guys are, the looks, money, status crowd being like, look, see, they only go for Chads. They only go for Chads. And it's like, dude, why don't you get offline and why don't you try that shit in the real world and let's see who wins. Because I'm in Los Angeles, right? I'm surrounded by male models, actors, celebrities, people with way more social value, way more money, way better looking than I am, yet I can still run circles around these guys. How do I do that? How do I do that? Little something called game, okay? Little something called game, okay? As a matter of fact, a buddy of mine, right? A buddy of mine that I'm good friends with, he started calling me the Chad Slayer, which I kind of like. He's like, Matt is the Chad Slayer. He's like, no matter how good looking the guy is, it doesn't matter. He's like way younger than him. He has six-pack abs, looks like a male model. My boy Matt can just completely slay this guy, you know, and it's true. I had one wingman that I used to game with for years, right? This guy was French and he actually did model, right? So he technically was a male model, right? Really good looking guy. Not only that, but this dude had a French accent. Can you imagine how many women just like not only melted at his appearance, but melted the moment he spoke and he was like, hello, I am from Paris. Where are you from? Have you ever been to Paris? And then he would start talking French to them. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, this is so unfair. It's so unfair, you know, but I would laugh my ass off because so many girls would be like, oh my gosh, who are you? Right. And it used to drive me nuts too. Because when we would go out and field together and we would approach a set of girls, immediately these girls, I was like invisible. These girls like, oh my God, who's this? Who's your friend? Oh my gosh, he's French. Oh my gosh, he's hot. And all of a sudden I'm like, hey, what am I, chopped liver, right? All the attention would go to him initially, right? Initially. But usually within 30 seconds, usually not more than a minute, I was able to shift the focus off of him and bring it back to me. How was I able to do that? A little something called game, a little something called pickup, which this guy never practiced, right? Because you have to understand, the thing about guys who are good looking, they're just used to getting attention from women, okay? Because of their looks. They're used to getting attention, as he was, as my friend was, right? He was from France. He didn't really care to learn pickup. It didn't interest him. He didn't want to put in the work because he was getting attention from girls just being him, right? And I don't blame him. But he would get really, really annoyed when I was able to remove the attention from him and bring it onto me, because he's never had a single friend of his have the ability to do that, right? I was the first in his life where he was like, I remember the first time it happened. I wish I had his face on tape. He was like, his jaw dropped. He was like, did they seriously stop paying attention to me? Why are they leaving with him? I took the girls away from him and I left with them. And then I ended up having sex with a girl, one of the girls, right? It was funny because we were at this place called Balboa Cafe in San Francisco. It's in the marina, right? We walked in and there were these two Swedish girls. One of them was blonde, and we both wanted her, right? The one was the blonde one that we wanted. She was only 19 years old and she was just smoking hot. She was hands down the hottest girl there. She was a 10, right? Hands down, this girl was a 10. And she was blonde. She was from Sweden. Already I was at a disadvantage because he was from France, and they're both kind of like European, so they both were more familiar with each other than me just being an American, right? But we both walked in there and initially she was like, who's this French guy? And he was like working his, he was working his French game on her. He's like, hello, how are you? And he would do shit like that. It would drive me nuts. And the girls would be like, oh my gosh, who are you? And not even within 30 seconds, but I was like, yo, pinky love. I just kind of stuck my head like in front of his. I was like, pinky love, right? And she was like, pinky love, what's pinky love? And I go, here, I'll show you. I grabbed her pinky. I spun her around and I grabbed her and I dipped her, right? And from that moment, she was like, wait, what's happening? Wait, I like that guy, but oh my gosh, yours like even hotter, and he just stood there. He didn't know what to do, right? He couldn't outgame me. And I looked at her and I was like, do you want to go? And she was like, where? And I'm like, just come with me. And she was like, okay. And then we walked out together, held hands, walked out. And he was just like, he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it, because nobody's ever done that to him. Nobody's been able to do that to him, right? Because he was a really good looking guy. But I did that to him frequently, and he used to tell me stories like when we first started hanging out, how like guy friends didn't want to go pick up girls with him. Nobody wanted to go out with him. Because he told me he didn't have many guy friends, right? He was like, wow, you're my first guy friend. He was like, I don't have many guy friends. I'm like, why not? And he's like, none of them want to hang out with me because the girls always pay attention to me. And he wasn't being arrogant. I believed him. It's true. I'm like, yeah, the girls do pay attention to you. But you know what? I can change that. I can change that. I can change it. So frequently when we would go out together, he would get frustrated and he would get annoyed because I was able to pull the attention away from him and put it onto me. And it got to the point where he didn't want to hang out with me, which was funny because he initially complained about guy friends not wanting to hang out with him, and he just wanted like a cool guy friend to hang out with and go pick up girls. He finally got that in me, and then after a certain amount of time, he started to get frustrated with it to the point where he was like, okay, I don't want to pick up girls with you anymore. He was like, I just rather go by myself or, just go with someone else. He was like, I don't want to do it with you because I kept taking the girls. So with this guy, just using him as an example, and I don't want to bag on him because he was a friend of mine and he was my wing for a few years and I really enjoyed hanging out with him. I was kind of sad when he didn't want to come out with me anymore, but I understood, right? I understood like he couldn't compete, he didn't want to compete, and he was just used to girls giving him what he wanted for his looks and he didn't want to have to work for it, right? And that's kind of the fallacy of a lot of guys who are chads, a lot of guys who are good looking. It's like, yeah, they're able to get the girls attracted to them initially, but they cannot sustain that attraction. They cannot maintain it. And many times, even like if they're able to get the girl to sleep with them, the girl will lose interest in them right away. And many times even before that. So the guy won't even get to have sex with the girl. She will cut him off before she gives him any, right? She'll cut him off and she'll be like, no. Yeah, this guy's hot, but yeah, he's just beta. Or yeah, he's just kind of socially awkward. Or yeah, there's something off about him. Or yeah, he's just too, there's something socially awkward about him, right? It's always something. You know, it was no different with my ex-wing. It's like, yeah, he was able to get the girls initially. And it's like, that was really his game too, was to kind of just show off his looks, get the girls like really just to quickly, you know, jump in bed with him before they realize that, shit, he's not really who they think he is, right? He's just a good-looking face, but he doesn't really have any game beyond that. And he didn't, you know? I mean, a lot of times he acted just a little too beta, a little too needy. He was kind of a little pushover too, where he let the girls walk on him a lot. He didn't fight back. He didn't defend himself. So, you know, a lot of girls didn't stick around with him. A lot of girls ended up dumping him, you know? But initially, like when they would see him, they would all go nuts. They would all go crazy. And this is the case for most Chads, okay? So their only strength is in their looks. But beyond that, they really have nothing else. Because a lot of these guys don't learn game. They don't learn pickup. They don't learn how to carry on a conversation. They don't develop the $1 million mouthpiece. I see a lot of these guys in LA, like male models, they're approaching the same girls I do, right? And again, no different than with my ex-wingman, the girls are automatically focused on the male model, the Chad, right? Because of the looks. But I know within 30 seconds, not more than a minute, let me just get in there. Let me just start yapping to the girl, right? Let me do my thing. Let me work my game. And I could get her attention off of him and onto me. And without fail, I can do it, right? Without fail, I can do it consistently. Okay? And it just, this is why it annoys the shit out of me when I see the LMS, the looks, money, status guys, do these videos being like, see? All these women want are Chads. Look, they only respond to Chads, and all they're using is online game. All they're using is Tinder, Bumble, you know, whatever the dating app is. That's all they use. And it's like, duh, motherfucker. Yeah, online, I'm going to lose, right? Online, I can't win because I can't work my game online. It's very difficult to communicate that when really all she has to base your entire profile on is your looks, right? That's all she could base your profile on is your looks. It's really hard to communicate your charisma, your $1 million mouthpiece, your social calibration. It's really hard to communicate these things online, especially when she is getting just hundreds upon hundreds of messages from thirsty beta orbiters every single minute of the day, right? Whereas offline in the venues, even a crowded venue, she's not going to have all these guys walking up to her. I mean, she might have a few guys, and most of those guys are going to have piss poor game, right? Whereas you come in there and you're very skilled and you have the $1 million mouthpiece and you have charisma and you have social acuity, social calibration, and she sees that, she's going to be like, wow, this is a high value male. This is a high value guy. Even if she's got a male model approaching her, and I've had that before, plenty of great looking guys out there thinking like, oh, I'm way better looking than him. I'm going to get her. I could cock block. I could take her. And I embarrass these dudes. I freaking embarrass these guys. I make them feel like I turn them into my little bitch. If they try to cock block my set because they think that they can jump in there with their looks or their celebrity status, dude, I have no problem. I have no problem embarrassing them, right? I'll do it. I'm dirty like that. I freaking do it. I'm the Chad Slayer, man. I love slaying Chad, right? I love slaying Chad. Let me hit the light. There we go. Yeah, I'm a Chad Slayer, man. I love slaying Chads. But online, Tinder, Bumble, hey, you win. You win, man. It's hard to compete, and I'm not willing to put in all that work just to get this one girl, to try to get her out on a date with me. I'm just not willing to put in that work and text her for the next 5 months to try to get her to meet me for coffee where she'll just flake. I'm just not willing to do it when I could meet this same level of girl, even hotter, even younger, at any local venue right down the street and just approach her, right? And I'm not worried about Chads entering the picture, cock blocking. Go ahead. I love the competition. I could use you as a pawn. And then I could take the girl from you and then we'll just make fun of you later. I'm not afraid of Chads, and it just saddens me that so many guys are like, oh, I have to be a Chad in order to get the girl to like me. And it's like, dude, You think these chads are invincible? You think like the girls, just because they're good looking, that, you know, that's going to carry them through the entire relationship, that these girls are never going to leave them because they're so hot? No. These girls leave these guys all the time. And a lot of times these guys end up with girls who aren't even that good looking. I've seen a lot of these guys who are male model looking end up with a 6, a 7, and just deal with the girl because they don't want to get dumped. They're so used to getting the hot girl, but they get dumped, that they finally are like, you know what, I'm just going to go for like a 6 or 7 and cross my fingers I don't get dumped. And even those girls will dump them because they realize, shit, this guy has nothing else to offer beyond his looks, right? He has no game. He has no polarity. You know, he's a pushover. He lets me walk all over him, right? Because again, a lot of these guys, they don't work on themselves. They don't, you know, it's almost like beautiful women. A lot of beautiful women, they're so used to getting so much attention, they don't bother to develop themselves beyond their physical attractiveness. I mean, that's really all I have to say for this coaching video is, you know, when it comes to chads, I'm just so tired of hearing about these guys. Like, you guys talk about them like they're a gift from God, that they're, you know, that they're bulletproof, that they're unshakable, that they must be getting all the women in the world. And it's just not true, right? It's just not true. And, you know, maybe off the initial approach, they're able to get the girl's attention. That's true. I speak from personal experience because of my ex-wing, who was French, male model. Hey, he always got the attention. I can only think of one time when the girls paid attention to me, and I think it was just because the girl was really calibrated and she knew that that guy was used to getting attention, and she just put the attention on me. But I mean, that was like a fluke. That was like one time. But every single time, without fail, the girls always looked at him and I was invisible. And you know what? I never reacted. I never flinched. I just thought it was hilarious. And I'm like, watch me destroy this dude. Even though he's my wing. You know, I love him. But I'm like, watch me take the attention away from him. You know, and I love to do it. But he would get frustrated because he didn't know what to do. He didn't have the game to come back from that. So instead of challenging me and being like, all right, ooh, I'm going to come back, I'm going to cock block, I'm going to do this, he didn't know what to do. I mean, because his whole game relied on his looks. Like most chads, that's all they got is their looks. They have nothing beyond that. But when you have the skill of pickup, when you have the skill of game, you know what? You can annihilate these guys. It's very easy. I mean, I've had more challenge from fellow pickup artists who are definitely not male models, man. These guys are definitely not good looking. These guys have posed more of a challenge for me than any male model, any chad that I've ever come across in field. Okay, I've come across some really ugly pickup artists, right? And these guys have posed more of a challenge than these chads, these male models have, right? Just because it's hard to keep up with a guy who has the same skill you do, who has $1 million mouthpiece, who's socially calibrated, who can AMOG, who can just say all the right things at the right time. You know, it's just so magical to see. You know, it's almost like a dance, and I really appreciate that too when I come across a talented pickup artist and we can just go head to head, you know, and it's, you know, it's just phenomenal to see. And I feel like I get to work out my pickup muscles because I don't really come across anybody that good in field. I really don't. I feel like you know, not to brag or sound like I'm full of myself or anything like that, but I really feel like I'm the best in the venue every time I walk in. I feel like I'm the best one here, you know, and that didn't come naturally. That came from a lot of work. Right? A lot of work and a lot of years in field, a lot of thousands upon thousands of approaches, to the point where whenever I enter a venue, I know that there's nobody in that venue that is better than I am. Okay? And that's just the way I feel, right? It just comes from just years and years of experience just going out there. You know, I've often mentioned too, it's like, I mean, not only, especially in LA, not only am I dealing with chads, but you know, you're dealing with like celebrities, actors, very, very wealthy, powerful people, professional athletes. I mentioned the very first girl that I ever approached in LA when I first got there, like literally the night that I arrived in LA, I was at a Rite Aid and I saw this like super hot girl in there, right? It turned out to be Olivia Munn, who I didn't know who that was at the time because I don't watch TV. But I saw her in the aisles and I looked at her and I walked over to her and I was like, hey, are you mestiza? And then she was like, what makes you say that? And I'm like, I don't know. You kind of have this exotic look about you. And she was like, well, you kind of have that too. She's like, are you mestizo? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. And already her buying temperature was going up. I could feel there was like a flirtatious vibe between us. And so I asked her, I was like, you know, do you live in Studio City? And she was like, maybe. And she was like, do you? And I'm like, yeah, I just moved to the area. She was like, oh, nice. And she was like, how do you like it so far? And I looked like dead at her and I was like, so far I like it, right? And I was like trying to communicate that to her. And then as we're sitting there, you know, deep into this conversation, out of nowhere comes this gigantic hand between us, grabs her. It's like, let's go. Starts walking off. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Right? And then they end up going the line. I end up going the line. I look over and I'm like, who's this big dude? And I looked and I was like, oh shit, that's Aaron Rodgers. Turned out that was like her boyfriend, right? And it was hilarious because after they left, I Googled Aaron Rodgers, right? And immediately, once I Googled him, she popped up as his girlfriend. And that's how I found out what her last name was, because she introduced herself at one point. She was like, oh, you know, hi, I'm Olivia. And so I found out who she was. I was like, wow, she's an actress. She's been in all these movies. So yeah, it was really, really trippy. But that was the very first girl that I approached the very same night that I arrived in LA. And, you know, I've had a lot of instances like that. Like one of the last girls I approached in Santa Monica at this place called a Bungalow was this hot Latina girl. And the other guy who was trying to work game on her was Terrell Owens. I mean, the level of competition is insane. So I don't want to hear all this victim mentality, poor me, poor me. Just get out there and do your best, right? Forget about the Chads. Just get out there and do your best. And with that said, I'm going to wrap up here. Until next time, this is M from the 33 Secrets. Don't forget to smash that like button below. Also, hit that notification bell so that you will be notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video here on YouTube. More importantly, guys, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Okay, it helps me out a ton when you guys subscribe. Better yet, share my coaching videos with other like-minded friends of yours so we can spread this red pill knowledge to other men, right? And help awaken other men. Okay, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and then also, of course, tell your buddies about it. And for you guys who want to support my work and all this red pill knowledge I'm teaching guys even further, the best way to do that is by jumping into my monthly online coaching program, 7 Months of Mastery, where I am teaching guys just like you how to go out there and approach and close the youngest, hottest, and most beautiful looking women on the planet. I'm talking about 8s, 9s, and 10s. Same exact type of women that myself and my students are out there approaching and closing every single week. And believe me when I tell you, we do this every single week, like taking candy from a baby, like it's nothing. And believe me, as a man, you need these skills. These were skills that you were never taught in school, okay? If you're trying to go out there and pick up girls with that Disney bullshit you learn from television and Hollywood and movies, good luck with that, right? You'll never be able to get a girl above a 4 in looks using that bullshit, okay? If you want to get an attractive woman, a gorgeous woman, a woman who's even above a 7 in looks, you're going to need some game. You're going to need some pickup skill. You're going to need some training, okay? It doesn't mean you need to become like a master and spend your whole life picking up girls like some people here, right? But you have to get enough, you have to gain enough skill so that you can get a woman who meets your standards, okay? And you don't have to settle. And right now, the first month is only $1, okay? It's only $1 for the entire first month of coaching lessons in 7 Months of Mastery. And the reason why it's only $1 is because I really want you to try it out and check it out for yourself without you having to make a major investment. I mean, if I could make it free, I would, but apparently like PayPal doesn't let you do that. So I have to charge something. So $1 is like the lowest I get charged for that first month, and that's why it's only $1. So take advantage of it, okay, while you still can. And that is absolutely the best way to support me and show your love for my work. All right. It's real easy to sign up. All you need to do is click that link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. It just takes 2 seconds. So do that now, and I will see you in my next coaching video.